asking yourself, what the heck is going on with my body? Then today I am going to share with you how I figured out that I was in the midst of perimenopause and what I have done in the years since to help with all of the symptoms. I find it really hard to figure out exactly where to start, but I'm going to go back to, I'd say, my mid to late 30s. I'm now 46, when I started to feel overly irritated, irrational. My temper would be a lot shorter than it would have been, and you would notice that all the time, especially around my children, and I was just starting to feel like I wasn't myself. That's when it started to change for me. Since then, a lot of things have changed. And I want to go through some of those symptoms that I've suffered and what I'm now doing in my 40s and beyond to, I suppose, ease the symptoms a little and to make life a hell of a lot easier, because this is something that we actually don't need to suffer with, but our lifestyle habits and what we are doing, just little tweaks, can actually make that suffering a lot less. So I'm going to share with you today all of the things that I have been doing. I noticed those mood swings were getting worse and worse and worse. And again, I was feeling tired all the time, and exhaustion was a huge part of how I was feeling. And this was all of a sudden. What I was doing in my 30s in terms of exercise and fitness just seemed to stop working for me. And my exhaustion levels were on the increase, and I was noticing changes in my body. I had not made any changes to my fitness or my nutrition, but yet the changes in my body were quite drastic. I seemed to be putting on weight. I was certainly holding a huge amount of fluid, especially in my lower body. I never usually have any problems or issues from the waist up, but from the waist down is my problem area. Everybody's body is different, but I noticed that I was holding huge amounts of fluid and just feeling like my workouts weren't working anymore. The first thing that I have done in my 40s is to change how I work out. So what I've done to combat the exhaustion that I'm feeling is to look at my workouts and my workout routines. And what I've come to realize since doing a lot of research is that women really need to train differently in perimenopause and beyond. Our body is under a huge amount of stress with all the hormonal changes, and it can't take the same levels of exercise that it would have done in your 30s. And so we need to make a few tweaks. This is something not to be worried about, but it is something that I absolutely guarantee you, if you change, you will notice dramatic changes in how you're feeling overall. For instance, I was certainly overtraining and under fueling. And this was based on, I guess, all of the tips and tricks that you hear all over the internet, on YouTube, everywhere with anything to do with fitness and nutrition. And it's all really data that's based on men. We really need to be careful as women in perimenopause, because these ways of training and eating are actually going to make all of our perimenopausal symptoms a lot worse. And if I'd known this 10 years ago, I would have shared this 10 years ago, because this has changed my life in the last year or two since I started implementing these changes. So first off, I have put a huge amount of focus onto strength and less onto cardio. So cardio was actually causing my body to retain a serious amount of fluid, and that was because of the amount of cortisol that a cardio workout was releasing through my body. So I was seeing a weight gain rather than seeing the gains that I should be getting from my workouts. So the first thing I did was to pull back on cardio and increase strength workouts. Strength workouts are exceptionally important for women in perimenopause, because the density of our bone mass is going to start to reduce as we go through this hormonal phase of our life. It is really important that we are lifting heavy, and quite often, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Making that shift from cardiovascular workouts to a more strength-focused workout is so beneficial in this stage. It also is going to help with all of those hormonal mood swings, the irritability, the exhaustion. All of that will change once you make the shift from very heavy cardio-focused to more of a strength-focused regime. It's really important that we're actually fueling our body efficiently. And for me, this was something that I was really doing wrong. I was under eating and overtraining. So I was doing too much and not eating enough to fuel those workouts. So again, as well as cardio being too much cortisol in the body, my body was now under stress because I was doing too much exercise and there wasn't enough fuel to actually service my body to work through those workouts. A huge change for me as well is to fuel pre-workout. So this was something that was a new thing to me and very much a shock, because again, all of the literature shows you that you should, to get the best results, go into an exercise routine or a morning fitness workout unfueled. But this actually, again, doesn't work for women. It's not beneficial in any way for women. We need something small. We need a little carb and a little protein before we do a workout. So for me, that's in the form of a protein shake, but I will have a protein shake pre-workout. This gives me enough fuel so that it doesn't put my body into a stress when I start that workout. And then I bookend my workout again with protein. So my breakfast will be very much protein heavy, but also carb rich. And this is something that women really, really need to stop being afraid of. This, I can tell you, was the number one problem and issue for me. I was so afraid to consume carbs. I would stretch sometimes to having some sourdough maybe at the weekend, but I certainly wasn't properly fueling my body post-workout with carbohydrates. And I can tell you, ladies, if you're trying to build muscle and get stronger, and if you're really trying to lose some weight, you absolutely have to include carbohydrates in your diet. This will not make you put on weight. It will actually do quite the opposite. So your body is going to need that extra energy that it's just used up in your 30-minute, 40-minute workout. And so you need to fuel with good carbohydrates, good complex carbohydrates after your workout. I'm going to be doing a video that will look closer into a full day of eating and what I do pre, post, and then throughout the day to show you the types of nutrition that will work really well for perimenopausal women. Another major symptom that I noticed, and one that led me to believe that I was in perimenopause, was I had really, really severe night sweats. And these tended to be on the few days coming up to my menstrual cycle. And I would wake to the point of being absolutely saturated and my sheets saturated. And I literally didn't know what was going on. And bearing in mind, this is going back, I'm, as I said, 46 now. So this is going back a good 8 years or so when perimenopause was not talked about. So I literally did not know what was going on with my body. Now understanding that this can be one of the major symptoms of perimenopause, I just combat that by making sure that I am so super hydrated all throughout the day. And this isn't just for the week up to my cycle. I would make sure every day that hydration is key and it's a priority. I would suggest that you do add electrolytes into your water. Adding electrolytes into your water will just give you that real extra boost that you need to keep you going through the day, keep your energy levels high, and don't raise any cortisol in your body. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause a stress on your body throughout the day. In terms of the training again and how you exercise during perimenopause, it can be quite different to how you would have previously worked out. And another thing to consider, because your body is obviously going through a number of hormonal changes, but you're also going through a cycle. And even if you're not having a period, because I know some women won't be, you can track how you're feeling throughout the month and you will see and you will notice. For me, definitely, I notice my mood swings when they get worse during the month. I notice when my body starts to swell during the month. And for me, the swelling comes around ovulation time where I start to hold on to a lot of fluid, which means your body is kind of in inflammation mode anyway. And it's a really, really good idea and a practice that I have now added in to pull back slightly on your exercise and treat that ovulation week, just coming up to ovulation and a few days after, as your deload week. So you're doing 3 weeks of your full exercise plan, which I'm going to go into in more detail in another video. But you would do your standard routine for 3 weeks, and then you take a deload week around this time of inflammation in your body. It's using a lot of energy, it's stressing the body, and you don't want to then go and do a heavy strength lifting workout on top of that. And I think this is something that really isn't discussed enough, and something that I really didn't understand. I always knew that around that week I would feel so uncomfortable in my body, and I just would nearly avoid looking in a mirror. My body would nearly double in size, and I didn't realize that by exercising, because obviously if you look in the mirror and you're feeling uncomfortable, you go and exercise more, right? So I was doubling what I was doing in the gym and making everything worse. So you're putting more stress on your body, you're causing more inflammation. And I have recently come to understand and learn from my research that if in fact you pull back on that week and you do a more Pilates style mobility, stretching kind of routine week, so you're still moving your body, there's absolutely no problem there. You're still moving your body, so don't feel that, oh my God, I can't take a week off. You're not taking a week off. You're still really benefiting by increasing the mobility of your body, but it's just a much more gentler approach that week than putting heavy strength on your body and your muscles. Think of this week, it's just, for me, it's had to be a very clever switch in the way that I think, because I have a very, very addictive mind, I would say, and so it's very tough for me not to go out to the gym and pick up those weights and do a heavy session and switch that for something like Pilates or something softer. It was a real mindset focus for me. And so what I've done is really shift to a mindset of thinking that this week of lower intensity workout is really, really going to help build those muscles. So this is the time when my muscles are saying, thank you, you're giving us a chance to build back up. Because as you know, when you're strength training, you're breaking down those muscles so that they rebuild stronger, in essence. So that's what you're doing. So by taking this slower week off and having that approach to your mindset, to know that what I'm doing during this deload week is really, really going to increase all of those gains and all of the hard work that I've put in for the previous 3 weeks. And that is really, really something that is working well for me. And you're keeping those stress levels down in your body, and you're doing yourself such a benefit by just making this one change. How I split my workouts during the week has also been something that I have looked at. I think you're either a heavy arm day person or a heavy leg day person. And I was definitely, and still am, very much inclined to go out and do legs. I love doing legs, and I really don't like to do arms. It's just a preference thing. But again, because I was more focused on legs continuously, I was doing them in repetition, not giving my legs a chance to actually recover from the previous day's workout. So if I was doing a leg on a Monday and then I was doing a heavy, maybe switching to a full body, but still very much leg focused on a Tuesday, and then maybe I'd do an arm on a Wednesday and back to legs again. I was very much focused on legs without giving them the rest that they need, and this will have the absolute opposite effect to what you think. So as I mentioned earlier, I am always bottom heavy, and that's where I have all my issues. And so overworking the same muscles, you're not going to get the gains that you hope for. What I was getting was extra swelling, extra inflammation, all of the things that I didn't want. Now my breakdown is I have Monday where I work my legs and abs. On a Tuesday, I will switch to an upper body strength and I will add in a sit. Now, a sit is not like your HIIT training that you'd be used to, but again, very, very good for perimenopausal women. A sit is where you go full throttle on an exercise for 30 seconds on, and you might rest for 1.5 to 2 minutes, a little bit longer if you need it. But the idea is that you're getting your heart rate right back down and letting it fully recover before you go again for another 30 seconds. And I would do a round of 8 on that. Now, you may only be able to do 2, you may only be able to do 3. It actually doesn't matter. But what you're trying to do is get your cardiovascular system working really, really hard for those 30 seconds and getting a full rest without really, really intensely spiking cortisol levels, which standard cardio or HIIT training can do for perimenopausal women. So I will add that on to an arm day because I do my sit training on a bike. So I'm on a power bike and I will literally go as hard as I can go for 30 seconds, minute and a half off, and I do it for 8 rounds. So it will give you about a 13 and a half minute workout. I tag that at the end of my arm day. So I'm not tagging it on the end of a leg day because that's legs and legs. And then on a Wednesday, I will go back to a mobility style workout. So I'm kind of taking a rest day here midweek as well. So I've added 2 rest days into my schedule. Usually I would only ever have taken one day, which was a Sunday rest day, which is actually just not enough for your body. So I do a leg day, an arm day, a mobility day, which is just a Pilates style or a yoga style, full stretch mobility workout, back to legs on a Thursday with abs, and back to arms on a Friday with my sit again. And then on a Saturday, I might do a full body. And that's a perfect split for me. It means that each muscle group is getting a perfect time to recover before I go hit that muscle group again. And then when I come into a Sunday, I have a full, absolute, non-negotiable rest day. And this again is back to the mindset. When you're resting, you are actually doing good for your muscles. You are going to make the gains when you're resting those muscles, not when you're in the gym. When you're in the gym, you're breaking them down. When you rest, you're building them back up. So really important. And I will share that structure and that whole routine and workout split in another video where I'm going to go into everything in much more detail. So just in conclusion, really, that you're not working and overworking the same muscle group continuously during your week, and you're giving some time between each workout just to recover those muscle groups, and you will get much better gains that way. Becoming really protein focused has been a huge shift that I've made in terms of my nutrition. As I mentioned, I will always start my morning with some protein. When you wake first thing in the morning, as soon as your body wakes up, your cortisol will start to raise. And so you need to cap that. You're going to keep those stress levels low and you're not going to have that big glucose spike. And we do that by adding some protein in as soon as possible when we wake. So my routine is to have, as I mentioned, just a scoop of, actually, I lie, I take half a scoop pre-workout and I'll take another half of scoop post-workout, and I'll explain why in a moment. It just fits with my routine. But so that I have that little bit of protein in my system, I have fuel to go out to do my workout. Then when I come back in, I bookend with some more protein. I take another half scoop of protein powder in a shake, and I will take that with some electrolytes, and then I will go and do my hour sauna. I have a heated sauna blanket, which is just such a great self-care thing to do for yourself. I know not everyone will have access to a sauna blanket or a sauna, but it is an incredible thing that I've added into my self-care routine during perimenopause, because it really does calm me and really starts my day the way I want it to go. It is my time to kind of relax, to unwind, while at the same time it's really, really benefiting my muscles after my workout. And then I habit stack it with some other really, really good self-care things that I do, like meditation, and also do my LED face mask. So I will habit stack all of those things while I'm in the sauna. This is why I bookend my workout with some extra protein, that half scoop of a shake, because if I was to stay in that sauna for an hour without replenishing my body after a workout, again, my body is going to start working on my lean muscle mass to get some energy back from the energy that I've just lost. So I want to give it something to work on while I am in the sauna and before I have my breakfast. When I do have breakfast, it will be very much protein heavy, as I mentioned. My current breakfast at the moment is to do protein oats. And so I will have my oats with a scoop of protein, and then I will get all of the goodness on top. I will add some fresh berries. I add another big dollop of Greek yogurt for extra protein. I add some protein peanut powder, some nuts and seeds. And again, I'm just making sure that I'm getting a good balance of everything that I need. I am getting a really good carb source from all of the energy that was depleted during my workout. And I'm getting the protein that I need to build those muscles. Without protein and carbs, you really won't see the gains that you want. And I can't emphasize this enough, because I had an absolute fear of carbs, and it was one of the biggest mistakes that I've been making for the last, I could say, nearly 10 years of just having a complete and utter fear of carbs. And this is my message to you: don't fear them. They will really show such gains for you if you add them back into your diet, and especially post-workout. Then with protein, I continue to make sure that I get 30 to 40 grams throughout the day with every meal, and I would have 30 with that breakfast as well, just so that you're drip feeding that protein throughout the day. And if you're going to have a snack before bed, a lot of people like to have something sweet after their dinner. Make your last little snack of the day something that's protein heavy. And a great tip for me is to use Greek yogurt. It is a fantastic one, or cottage cheese, another great alternative. And just add something maybe to sweeten it up, and just have that little protein source before bed, because this is a great way of rebuilding your muscles again while you're sleeping. Anything that you can do at all during perimenopause to kind of keep your hormones level and keep that cortisol level down is really, really beneficial. And another piece of advice that I could give is caffeine, and not to have caffeine on an empty stomach. You may notice that if you have a coffee in the morning, you feel very anxious very quickly, you feel jittery. That is all the cortisol levels increasing in your body. So what I would suggest is that if you can try and keep that coffee for your breakfast after you have eaten some sort of a protein, because this will really, really like stem the effect that the caffeine has. Caffeine can be very good, but you just don't want to have that on an empty stomach and really cause that spike. I also try to limit my caffeine to just having that post 12 o'clock, because it really does take hours and hours for caffeine to leave your system. And I really notice if I have a coffee late afternoon, it will really, really affect my sleep. And that brings me very nicely on to the next point, and that is to really stress the importance of sleep during perimenopause. I mean, sleep is important for everybody, but as a woman that is really suffering with symptoms and feeling so lost and stressed and like life is just not happening for you, when you're tired on top of that, it literally exacerbates every single symptom of perimenopause. And for me, everything that I was doing in terms of my over exercising, under eating, not fueling my workouts, not fueling properly after my workouts, drinking caffeine on an empty stomach and then throughout the day. And it just meant that by the time I got to bed, I was so overstressed and my body was so overstimulated that I just couldn't sleep. Other things that I really like to do to really help with a good night's sleep is to not be on my phone once I hit that bed. So once I get into bed, my phone goes away. I like to have a journal beside my bed. I just brain dump anything that's on my mind, just get it out. It's better out than in the brain and working while you sleep. I will always read a chapter or two of a book until I feel sleepy. And also sometimes if I'm quite struggling during the day, if I've had quite a stressful day and I'm feeling those kind of stress levels are high, you want to try and get those down to as calm as you can feel before you go to sleep. And so I suggest that maybe you try sleep meditation. Now this, you can either put it in for 5-10 minutes and just listen to a guided meditation, or I've also tried leaving AirPods in overnight with a kind of a sleep meditation and just music and sounds. They're different wavelengths that put you into that nice sleep. Both work equally well. It just depends on whether you want to sleep with earphones in or not. But again, a great way to just unwind, and not having too many bright lights in the bedroom as well really helps. So when I'm reading, I tend to read with just a little book light, just so that the ambience in the room is dark, and it's just getting your circadian rhythm all ready for a great night's sleep. So they are some of the perimenopause symptoms that really stood out to me, the things that I was suffering for so long, and I just really had no understanding of what they were or why I was feeling like so unlike myself and just a horrible person to be around. And look, that's really hard to admit. And I know that so many of you listening will feel exactly the same, because you are so far from feeling yourself. I went through a huge amount of guilt with my children because I was just irritable all the time. Same with my husband, and you can hear yourself and you can hear the way that you're talking to the people that you love the most, and you're just so irrational, and it is just all this hormone imbalance. And look, it's perimenopause. It can last so many years, so we really need to be doing everything that we can to help to really make those and this transition, I suppose, easier. The reason I started this channel is because I suffered for so long on my own, and I felt so alone. I felt lonely. Some people don't suffer the same way, but I was suffering so bad. And when I actually figured out what it was like a eureka moment. And I was like, oh my God, I have something that thousands and millions and trillions of other women are actually going through as well. And if we can understand that, it just makes it a little bit easier. So this channel is going to be dedicated to all of you out there that are like me, and maybe you have resonated with some of the things that I've said. Maybe you have one of these symptoms, maybe you have all these symptoms, maybe you have these and a hell of a lot more. But if we all talk about it, and please use this channel to comment below and talk to me about some of the symptoms, or ask me to do a video on something that you're concerned with around perimenopause, because I really want to do the research. I really want to share the research because I am learning every single day. That is my promise to you. I love to take in as much information as I can on this. Dr. Stacy Sims, I've mentioned a few times in my previous videos, is such an incredible woman and such an advocate for looking at women and how they train and training for their hormones, and how we need to be looked at so differently to men. Because if we were, and if the literature and all of the research was based on men and women separately, we wouldn't be in this position. We would be able to coast through these perimenopausal years, exercising in a way that's actually working with our hormones instead of against them, and feeding our bodies to work with our hormones instead of working against them. And we would not be the crazy people that we are during perimenopause, because we'd have the right information to work with. So I really hope that you got something from this video. As I said, I'm going to follow this video with a fitness video and also a nutrition. Two things which I think are crucial to maintaining a really calm perimenopausal journey and just feeling our absolute best and looking our absolute best. Because if we are working out properly and we are fueling our body properly, then we are going to get all of the gains that we want. We're going to have that lean body that we want. And by the way, this is absolutely attainable for a woman in their 40s and 50s and 60s and beyond to have a lean, muscular body just like everybody else, if we just follow the correct tips for perimenopausal and menopausal women. And so that's my promise to you, that I will share that over the next few videos. Power is key, and let's just empower ourselves to understand how our body works, and let's do it together. And I hope that if you enjoy this, that you will hit that subscribe button. Please do that. It really, really does help the channel. And don't forget to hit that little thumbs up, because that shows the YouTube algorithm that you're actually enjoying the content that I'm putting out there. And so I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.